So, what if the constant pressure you feel to be more outgoing, more social, more extroverted, what if it isn't just tiring? What if it's actively damaging your greatest psychological gift? The truth is, our world relentlessly celebrates this extrovert ideal. But the great psychologist Carl Jung, an introvert himself, he discovered something profound. He found that for a very specific type of person, solitude isn't an escape or a sign of being antisocial. No, it's a critical, non-negotiable process of psychic restoration. It's the secret to their power. This understanding, I think, can fundamentally change how you manage your energy, protect your sensitivity, and finally embrace your true nature. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to reveal a practical technique that Jung himself used to transform solitude from just, simple quiet time into a powerful wellspring of creativity and inner wholeness. And this is something you can start using today. Let's be honest, our modern world is, it's built by and for extroverts. Think about it. The open-plan office, where constant collaboration is mandatory, the endless expectation to network, to self-promote on social media, to always be on. School systems often reward the most talkative students, and workplaces promote the most visible ones. This cultural bias is what the author Susan Cain calls the extrovert ideal, this pervasive belief that the ideal self is gregarious, alpha, and comfortable in the spotlight. For an introvert, navigating this world is like trying to run a marathon every single day. While others seem to gain energy from social interaction, you feel yours just steadily draining away. But if you are not just an introvert, but also an empath, this experience is magnified tenfold. An empath doesn't just get tired by people, you absorb them. You're like a highly sensitive microphone in a world that's always screaming. In a quiet room, this sensitivity is a gift. You can pick up on the most subtle emotional frequencies, understand what's left unsaid, and connect with others on a profoundly deep level. But put that same microphone in the middle of a loud rock concert, and what happens? It's overwhelmed by a blast of distorted, painful noise. It can't function. And that is the empathic introvert in a hypersocial environment. You walk into a room and you unconsciously absorb the anxiety of one person, the frustration of another, the, forced cheerfulness of a third. By the end of the day, you're not just tired, you're a chaotic jumble of emotions that don't even belong to you. Does this feeling sound familiar? That deep, almost physical need to retreat into silence, not because you're angry or sad, but because you feel completely peopled out? That's not a character flaw. It's your psyche sounding a critical alarm. It's a signal that you are psychically overloaded and desperately need to return to your source. And this brings us to a revolutionary idea that can set you free. To truly grasp the gift of your nature, we have to go back to the source, Carl Jung. Before Jung, introversion was often confused with shyness, insecurity, or arrogance. Jung completely changed the conversation. He proposed that introversion and extroversion are not about how sociable you are, but about the fundamental direction of your psychic energy, which he called libido. Imagine you have a psychic battery. The extrovert charges their battery by plugging it into the external world, people, activities, sensory experiences. The more they do, the more people they see, the more energized they feel. Their energy flows outward. The introvert, on the other hand, charges their battery by plugging it into their internal world, thoughts, reflections, feelings, ideas. Social interaction requires them to expend battery power. To recharge, they have to unplug from the external world and turn their energy inward. This isn't a preference, it's a fundamental psychic orientation. It's your operating system. Telling an introvert to just be more outgoing is like telling a diesel engine to run on gasoline. It won't just fail, it will cause damage. And here's a detail that makes this deeply personal. Jung wasn't just an armchair theorist. He discovered this through intense self-observation. Feeling overwhelmed by his public life and the demands of his patients, he bought land on the shore of Lake Zurich and with his own hands began to build a simple stone house, which he called the Bollingen Tower. It had no electricity, no running water. This was his sanctuary, his laboratory for the soul. It was here, in profound solitude, that he did some of his most important inner work, proving his own theory. So, when you feel utterly drained after a party that everyone else seemed to love, you haven't failed at socializing. Your psychic battery was simply being depleted, while theirs were charging up. You are running a different and equally valid operating system. Curiously, but this raises a crucial question. What exactly happens during that inward-facing, recharging process? What is this psychic restoration Jung spoke of? The answer is far more profound than just getting some rest, and that's what we'll explore next. In the hook for this video, I quoted Jung, "Solitude is the only way to hear the self." This is the absolute core of our discussion today. In Jungian psychology, there's a vital distinction between the ego and the self. The ego is your conscious identity. It's who you think you are, your name, your job, your social roles, the mask you present to the world. The ego is necessary for navigating daily life, but it's only a tiny fraction of your total being. The self, with a capital S, is the totality of your psyche. It is the unifying center that includes the conscious ego, but also the vast, mysterious territory of the unconscious. It is your authentic, whole, and complete core. In the constant noise of the external world, the loud voice of the ego and the demands of others are all we can hear. The quiet, profound voice of the self is drowned out. Solitude is the act of turning down the volume of the world so you can finally hear the wisdom from your own depths. Let me offer an analogy. Think of your consciousness as a lake. On a normal day, the surface of the lake is constantly rippled by the winds of social interaction, emails, news alerts, other people's expectations. The surface reflects the sky, the trees, the passing clouds. It reflects the external world. But because of the constant motion, you can't see what lies in the water. Solitude is when the wind stops, the ripples cease, the water becomes perfectly still, transparent. For the first time, you can see down into the depths. You can see the hidden life, the forgotten treasures, the strange creatures, the very foundation of the lake itself. That stillness, that clarity, that is the dialogue with the self. This is why your most profound insights, your best creative ideas, or your moments of deepest clarity often come not in a brainstorming meeting, but during a long walk alone, or while staring out the window with a cup of coffee, or even in the shower. You're not zoning out. You, in fact, are zoning in. You are processing, integrating, and reconnecting with who you truly are beneath the noise. For an empath, this process is not just beneficial, it's a matter of psychic survival. And the mechanism behind this is crucial to understand. And just for a moment, if this idea of the dialogue with the self is resonating with you, if this reframing of solitude feels valuable, could you do me a quick favor and press the like button below? It's a simple, powerful signal to me that this content is connecting. And if you subscribe and hit the notification bell, you'll be sure not to miss our future deep dives into living a more authentic life. It genuinely helps us reach more people who need to hear this message. Thank you. All right, let's talk about the empath's specific challenge. If the introvert's core need is to manage their energy, right, the empath's core need is to manage their psychic boundaries. Being an empath is not just about being compassionate, it's about having naturally permeable psychological boundaries. You feel other people's emotions as if they were your own. While the science on this is still emerging, this is often linked to an overactive mirror neuron system. You don't just see someone is sad, you feel their sadness in your own body. Without regular, intentional solitude, the empath's psyche becomes a repository for stray emotional energy. You become a walking psychic sponge, saturated with other people's anxieties, frustrations, and sorrows. After a while, you completely lose track of what you are feeling versus what you have absorbed. This is the fast track to chronic anxiety, confusion, and a terrifying feeling of losing yourself. Here's a fascinating detail that most people miss. This is not some new age idea. Jung wrote about this exact phenomenon over a century ago. He called it participation mystique, a state of unconscious identity where an individual unconsciously merges with the psychological state of another person or an object. For most people, this is a rare state. For the empath, it's the default mode in a crowd. Have you ever come home from a social gathering feeling inexplicably angry, only to realize later you were sitting next to someone who was silently fuming about their boss? You absorbed it. Have you ever felt a wave of profound sadness wash over you in a grocery store? You likely walked through the emotional residue of another shopper. Solitude, for the empath, is the essential act of wringing out that psychic sponge. It's the process of psychic hygiene. It's where you can finally take inventory and ask, is this feeling mine, or did I pick it up from someone else? Only by separating yourself from the influx of external energy can you return to your own emotional baseline and feel whole again. But Jung didn't just advocate for passive solitude. He developed a powerful, active method for engaging with the inner world. This is the practical tool I promised you. Jung believed that solitude wasn't meant to be an empty space, but a rich, fertile ground for discovery. It's a laboratory for the soul. And the primary technique he developed for this work is called active imagination. Active imagination is not just daydreaming, it's a conscious, intentional dialogue with the figures of your unconscious mind. It's a way of turning that metaphorical lake we talked about from something you just look at into something you can interact with. Here's a simple 4-step way you can begin to practice this. Step 1. Induce a state of receptivity. Find a quiet space where you will not be disturbed for 15 to 20 minutes. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and take a few deep breaths. Let go of the day's concerns. Don't try to empty your mind, just simply allow it to quiet down. Step 2. Focus on a particular inner state. Bring to mind a particular mood you've been feeling, a recurring dream image, or even a physical sensation. Let's say you're feeling that free-floating anxiety you picked up at work. Instead of pushing it away, turn your full attention toward it. Step 3. Allow an image to emerge and engage it. Gently, give this feeling a form. Don't force it. Just ask, if this anxiety had a form or a voice or a character, what would it look like? Maybe it's a nervous little creature, a dark cloud, or a critical voice. Once the image appears, engage it. Ask it a question directly, as if it were a real person in the room with you. You could ask, "Who are you?" Or "What do you want from me?" Or "Why are you here?" Step 4. Listen and record without judgment. Now this is the most important part. Calmly. Listen. Allow the answer to come spontaneously. It might be a single word, an image, or a feeling. It might not make logical sense, and that's perfectly okay. The goal is not a debate. The goal is a dialogue. After your session, write down what happened, draw the image, describe the conversation. This act of recording anchors the experience in your conscious mind. By doing this, you transform your relationship with your inner world. That anxiety is no longer a vague, threatening force. It's a character you can talk to. You're moving from a passive victim of your inner states to an active participant in your own psychic life. This is the ultimate act of self-reclamation. You're not just escaping the world. You are actively building and understanding your own world. This is how solitude becomes a gift. So, let's bring it all together. We've seen that the cultural pressure to be an extrovert is a powerful but damaging bias. We've reframed introversion in the Jungian sense, not as a social failing, but as a fundamental orientation of energy. And most importantly, we've uncovered why for you, the empathic introvert, solitude is a non-negotiable act of psychic restoration, a sacred dialogue with your true self. Now, my question for you is this. When and where do you find your most restorative solitude? Is it on a walk in nature, in a quiet room with a book, or in the middle of a creative act? Share your personal sanctuary in the comments below. I would genuinely love to read how you connect with your inner world. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Remember, your need for solitude is not a weakness to be fixed. It is your profound strength, a profound psychological gift. Honor it, nurture it, and use it to stay whole. Until next time.